Well, we're just on the back of the Imrama Festival of Travel Writing in Lismore, which we have been talking about here on WLR. That's over, but there's another festival starting in a couple of days, and that is the Robert Boyle Summer School. And so much happens with this. It's running from the 20th to the 23rd of June in both Waterford and Lismore. It's run by CALMAST, the scientific wing of WIT, in conjunction with Lismore Heritage Centre. To find out all about it, I am joined in studio by the Centre Manager of CALMAST out at WIT, and that is Cordula Weiss. Cordula, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mary? Thanks
Not too
for
bad.
having me here.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. You're involved in many things in terms of CALMAST, but the Robert Boyle Summer School, I suppose he's a great person to, you know, celebrate, and a great Waterford man as well. Tell us, for people not familiar with what he did, tell us about Robert Boyle.
Robert Boyle is a very exciting man, a very exciting scientist, a very interesting scientist. So he was born in Lismore Castle in 1627. He moved on then, and he was educated in Eton. He was educated in Europe. He travelled loads, and he finally did most of his research, most of his experiments actually in Oxford in England. But he was one of the most fascinating and most important scientists at his time. So he's also called the father of modern chemistry today. I think most people or most scientists would know him for Boyle's law, which explains the inverse relationship between pressure and volume, which is a very important concept, a very important law still today in science, in weather forecasting, all kinds of our daily aspects of our daily life.
In a way that, you know, us mere mortals probably don't realise. Like I said, it's been applied all the time for people who have to work in science for their jobs.
Exactly. It is applied everywhere, not just science, not just in our jobs, but everywhere in our daily life.
Okay. So Superhuman is the theme of this year's festival. Why is it called that, and what is happening at the festival this year?
This is one of my favourite festivals, I have to admit now. So the whole festival this year is about Superhuman. I was just talking about Robert Boyle as a scientist, but this festival actually is not just for scientists or with scientists. It's more like an idea of sharing opinions, sharing ideas, thinking about, especially in terms of superhumans, what the world might be like in a couple of years or what it is now. And this is all based on Boyle's predictions from about 360 years ago. He said that at some point in the future, there might be people being able to dive underwater and kind of progress and walk and move freely underwater, which we basically can do today. If you just think about the depth in which we can dive into. He was talking about the prolongation of life, about kind of keeping the youth, which we all do by now. If you just think about medicine, what we can do in terms of prolonging our lives. So also if you think about surgery, he was talking about treating people from far away, which we can do today as well in a way, because we have little cameras that we can put into our body. So that's huge advances in terms of surgery, in terms of medical treatment. We have like Skype and all those technologies. So sometimes even for surgeries, I suppose, you can just be somewhere else and direct somebody who is actually doing the surgery. There's huge progress that we did and that we have right now. And I think there's much, much, much more to come. If you just think of artificial intelligence, there's huge advantages of that and huge areas that we still have to develop and look into. And
genetic modification as well is one of the other areas, isn't it?
I'm glad you're saying that, yes. That's actually a big point of that we are going to discuss in Superhuman during this couple of days. So we have Professor Niall Moyna talking to us about Stone Age genes and space age technology, how we bring those together and the impact on human health. We have Professor Luke O'Neill talking to us as well. He's going to talk about humanology and development in the last years, in the last centuries and so on, from the beginning of humans basically up to where we are now and the possibilities that we have in terms of genetic modifications and so on. If you just think, just the other week I think there was a Russian scientist who kind of thought or is thinking about doing genetic modifications again, similar to what supposedly happened in China.
Right.
So I think there's a huge amount that needs to be discussed and
the
talked
morals
about.
And ethics of it all needs to come into it too, doesn't it?
That's a big part of that as well.
Yeah.
So we do discuss that as well. It's a big part of our summer school as well. It's not just that we can do it, but also should we do it? Should we probably move somewhere else? Should we just let it be? Or is it worth taking the risk and going for genetic modifications? There's always a plus and a minus side. There's always
I suppose
positive.
it's finding that balance between medicine and technology and how that can help people, and then maybe interfering too much. And where do you find that kind of balance, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really tough one to find. So there must be some kind of balance of the positive things coming out, the negative side effects. And I think at the moment we can't even say where we are. So this is going to be a big part, and we want everybody's ideas, everybody's opinions. So it's not just scientists or somebody talking to people. It's more like a kind of relaxed atmosphere. We do, for example, have a garden party on the Saturday down in Lismore Castle Gardens. We have gin from the Blackwater distillery. They have Robert Boyle gin, so we have to have that, of course.
Exactly.
And also beer from the Metalman Brewery, and we have artisan food from Eunice Power. So it's going to be a great event. And again, it just provides space for everybody to talk, discuss, share their ideas and opinions.
Absolutely. Now, the kind of locations then for all the talks, because we have Dr. Natalie Keuke, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, from Cambridge. We have Professor Luke O'Neill, as you mentioned, from TCD, Professor Madeleine Lowry from UCD, Professor Niall Moyna, as you mentioned, from DCU, Professor Tomás Ryan from TCD, Dr. Oliver Feeney from NUIG, and the artist Nuala Clark. And we're going to talk about Nuala in just a second. But where are all these talks happening from, the people I've just mentioned?
So this year is going to be split up between Waterford, the Tower Hotel and the City Hall, and also in Lismore, the Lismore Heritage Centre and the Lismore Castle Gardens. I'm not going to list everything right now, all the times and so on,
but
I think
people can find out online.
Exactly. If you just go on robertboyle.ie, that's the whole programme, plus a couple of sentences about all that's going on. We also are on Facebook, Boyle Summer School, and you can book all the tickets on Eventbrite if you just look up the Robert Boyle Summer School there.
Would you recommend booking in advance?
I would. So we do have a couple of bookings already, and it is booking out.
Sure.
So I'd say booking in advance is definitely should do that.
Are school kids going to this? Is it something that, children go to, or is it more for adults?
It's more for adults, definitely.
Tell us a little bit about the artist Nuala Clark and her involvement with all of this.
Nuala Clark, she's an Irish artist, but she divides her time between New York and County Mayo. And just recently, early this year, she finished an exhibition, or she finished her works that were inspired by Robert Boyle. It's called Internalum. It's a word she made up from the words intrinsic and for something that's neutral or for something that's neutral, like not one thing nor the other thing. And she was inspired by Boyle, and she said that I have to probably go back a bit. So Robert Boyle wrote a book on colour. He called it The Experiments and Considerations Touching Colour. He did huge research and experiments and a lot of work on understanding colour, understanding the nature of colour, where does it come from, why do different bodies have different colour and so on, what happens between light and colour. And he published all his notes and all his observations. And Nuala actually read those notes, and I think is a huge achievement. Like if you read that, your sentences that go over 1 or 2 pages. It's all been written in the 17th century, so it's a bit different to how we write today. And she used all that to kind of experiment with different colours, with different shades and forms and shapes in all her artwork. And at some point she actually says that she also took the childlike curiosity of Robert Boyle and brought this into her paintings.
Wow. So are her paintings on display then as part of this festival?
They will be on display. They're going to be in the Tower Hotel on the Friday, and in the evening we're going to bring them to City Hall. So if you go to events to the Tower Hotel or the City Hall on Friday, you will see the artwork there on display as well.
Excellent.
It's truly fascinating. So she plays with the invisible space. It's something that she kind of relates to Boyle as well, because Boyle in some cases was more like playing around. I probably shouldn't be calling it playing around, but you experiment and you change small parameters until in the end you get the result. And that's what she's doing as well. So she's playing around with colour, she's playing around with the invisible space until it feels right. And you get these amazing artworks out of it.
Great stuff. So all this is happening as part of the Robert Boyle Summer School, www.robertboyle.ie. But as you said, you have a Facebook presence as well. It's where you'll find out where everything is on. Like you said, divided between the Tower Hotel and City Hall here in the city, and then also at Lismore Heritage Centre in Lismore Castle. So loads of venues hosting these events and plenty for people to go along. And like you said, it's all about questions and answers and exchanging ideas and thinking about things as well, even if you're not a scientist.
Yeah, there's loads going on, and I'm really looking forward, and I hope to see many of you there then as well.
Great stuff. Cordula Weiss of CALMAST, thank you so much.